Welcome everyone to our part three of Love, Hope, and Compassion webinar series. My name is Felipe and I am with the Charter for Compassion, and we have the opportunity and great blessing to have Scarlett Lewis and Kathryn Goetzke from Choose Love Movement and from Shining Hope. And we are super grateful to have you both here to share more about giving us your insights on, choosing love and shining hope. So with that, we are currently live on Facebook. This will be recorded on our YouTube channel. This is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel later so that you can access this at any point.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that intro. Scarlett, so good to see you.
So great to see you. I always love being with you and having these conversations.
I know, me too. Me too. So important. So why don't you start by just sharing a little bit about who you are and what you're up to?
Absolutely. I want to say hi to Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn. Oh, there you are. How's it going?
It's going really well.
Oh,
So glad
good.
you're doing this.
Yes, we're grateful.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us, Marilyn. Executive Director of Charter for Compassion, and literally, I think my first public talk was for your organization.
Right.
Yeah, Charter for Compassion, and you flew me out to Washington, and we had an event at a school, and then 10 years later we're together also in Chicago.
Right.
And by the way, 12 years after my own personal tragedy, the need for love, hope, and compassion continues. And I might even say escalates. So thank you very much for the work that you do, Marilyn, and Kathryn, you too. I mean, I really literally consider us boots on the ground soldiers, capital SOUL, soldiers, like literally out there doing the work. And I feel blessed to be here today with both of you. I really, really appreciate being with other people doing the work, and everybody that's listening today. Thank you for everything that you do to create a safer, more peaceful, loving, hopeful, compassionate world, because it takes effort. And the beautiful thing though about that effort is that all of what we say at Choose Love, the nurturing, healing love that we give out, comes back to us in health and healing and all that good stuff. So my name is Scarlett Lewis. I'm the founder of the Choose Love movement. This organization was started following the murder of my 6-year-old son, Jesse McCord Lewis, at Sandy Hook Elementary School. If you remember that was almost 12 years ago, December 14th, 2012. So we're coming up on our 12th anniversary. That is still the worst mass shooting in an elementary school in the United States history. Following that horrendous event, I came home to my little farmhouse where I was raising my 2 boys as a single mom, and I found a message that Jesse had written on our kitchen chalkboard. 3 words: nurturing, healing, love. Now, those words were phonetically spelled because he was in 1st grade and just learning to write. But I realized in that moment that that was the solution right there. It was so simple. But I started to learn as I was trying to enhance this message throughout the world that simple isn't always easy. And so that formula, as well as Jesse's example of courage, Jesse actually saved 9 of his classmates' lives before losing his own. And you can imagine, as a mom, realizing that within the first few days of the tragedy, that, I realized that I am responsible for the world that my children are growing up in. I'm certainly responsible for their safety and health and well-being. And it really made me realize that I had to do something. And what I had been doing wasn't enough. And I have to tell you, that was the best decision that I've ever made, because once you make that first little step in being part of the solution, it literally raises your self-confidence. You can take the next step And what I was saying initially, you know, all the nurturing, healing love that you give out, you get back. This is a huge part of my healing journey as well, is being part of the solution and spreading Jesse's message. And that's choose love. And that's what I've been doing literally 7 days a week, as Kathryn knows, because she's on a very similar journey.
Yes.
I feel
I
grateful for
am.
doing that. It's a lot, but it's very good. A good work for sure, and definitely making an impact. And I'm gonna pass it over to you, Kathryn.
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful to have met you. It's been a few years now, I think, since, and we actually met in Highland Park here in Chicago, speaking after, you know, the tragic 4th of July shooting here, with Dr. Ed Barksdale, who's actually now located in Chicago and has become one of my good friends and advisors. But I just want to add to that. I mean, you're such, you know, you took that, and instead of the anger, you know, you kind of learned and taught us how to transfer and transmute that anger into change and into discovery and learning, how do we love, how can we love, and created that formula for love, and are now teaching that around the world, and have created a massive global movement, ensuring all of our kids know that love is a choice, and every moment is an opportunity to make that choice for love. And just, so I learn so much from you every day, every time I hear you speak. I'm so grateful to be doing this work with you.
Thank you, Kathryn. And I learned from you. We learn from each other.
Absolutely. So yeah, and I have a different story, but one that has definitely fueled my mission and my passion. I lost my dad when I was 18 he died by suicide. And I struggled myself. I had my own attempt in my 20s. And, you know, when I was in my 30s, starting my other company, the Mood Factory, I wanted to do a cause marketing campaign for mental health, and found the branding in mental health to be very depressing and sad. And so it started a nonprofit at that time called iFred, initially setting out to work to rebrand mental health. And about 10 years into it, I was in a suicide prevention talk. They were talking about, you know, 800 numbers, restricting access to means. A lot of the work was being done at time of crisis, when someone is, you know, actively suicidal. And I thought, if you want to prevent something, you really have to get to the root cause. And so across every single study, hopelessness came up as the single consistent predictor of suicide, and it's also a predictor of violence and all risky behaviors in youth, addiction. And I thought, why don't I know what this is? You know, doctors told me I was at a high risk of suicide. It's a primary symptom of depression. Why don't I know what the symptom is and how to manage it and how to get to hope? And so, you know, setting out on a similar journey, they were measuring hope. They weren't teaching you how to be hopeful. And I thought, well, we've got to learn how to do that. I've got to understand what hopelessness is, and I've got to learn how to get to hope, and, you know, prove that you can actually teach us as a skill. And so we were able to do that. We did research in Northern Ireland and programming for young kids, starting initially with 7 to 11-year-olds. We're able to publish research that we could in fact teach hope. And as you increased hope scores, anxiety and depressive symptoms decreased. And so I've been on a mission now to ensure all know how to hope, just like we need to know how to love. I mean, how do you love when something like that happens, Scarlett? And how do you forgive? And how do you, you know, put another foot in front of the other? And you're teaching us that every day through, you know, not just words in your programming, but your actions. It's so inspiring. So, you know, and all of this, I think, is grounded and rooted in compassion. So why we're both so connected to compassion as well. I did the Las Vegas Compassion at Las Vegas, a year-long program with Dr. Gar Jameson, and he's been a great mentor for me in my work. And you know, they're so deeply connected: compassion, love, and hope.
So, you know, I was just looking at both of the illustrations behind you. And I was thinking the bridge between hope and courage is encouragement.
Mm,
you know, as we move forward,
mm.
you know, how important it is that we give encouragement to others. Um, and that without hope, it's really difficult to get up in the morning, isn't it? Um,
Yes.
and so I'm wondering if both of you could give some illustrations about what it is that keeps you getting up in the morning, and what are some of the success stories that you can share with us that would really, I think, bring hope and courage and gratitude to people who are watching this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll take a stab at that first. Um, Service for me is something that's new. It's not necessarily how I live my life. I used to say a prayer with my boys, let us do your will. And then Jesse was taken, and then I've embarked on this worldwide um effort to teach individuals how to choose love, and I kind of joke a little bit and say I didn't mean that way. I meant on a Saturday once a month, when it was convenient for me, not dedicating my
Gosh.
entire life. But that's okay, because I'm in it 100% and dedicated. But really, for me, realizing, that compassion piece, that when we do for others, we help and heal ourselves. That's so powerful. And then, of course, I follow the formula. The formula is derived from Jesse's message of nurturing, healing, love. The first thing I do in the morning, even if I'm tired, even if I don't feel like it, but I usually do, is list off gratitudes. In fact, I list off gratitudes all day long. And they say that when you have a thought of gratitude, you get a 10% mood boost. And it shifts your lens from negative to positive. You can only focus on one thought at a time. And so gratitude helps us shift that lens to optimism. So much research behind having an optimistic outlook and how that benefits us in every aspect of our lives. So literally, what helped me initially, Marilyn, was that I had a 12-year-old son that was a survivor. And I thought about, well, first of all, the fact that I was modeling for him how to move through the difficulty. And, as a parent, as his only parent, I'm a single parent. And I realized it's all on me. And that was from day one. He was watching me, he was listening to me, but he was more learning from literally every interaction that I had. And we think our kids don't see everything or hear everything, and they absolutely do. So it really made me laser focus. I thought about how I wanted JT to move through future difficulty, challenges, roadblocks, even tragedies in his life. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to model it for him day one. And that really helped me rise to the occasion. And everybody listening out there in Facebook land, you're all modeling for someone, even if it's just for a friend or a roommate. And I don't mean just, you're modeling for the world in everything that you post, every situation that you show up in. And that realization really helped me. And then also, developing this formula. And I realized, it took me like 11 years to realize this formula is literally my way of moving through and growing and learning and being strengthened from my personal tragedy. So I just put it into formula form, but it's what I do every day. And it's having the courage to pause and face those difficult times instead of resisting and avoiding, or maybe falling to the temptation of numbing myself. Really thinking about it and having the courage to face those difficult times, realizing that it's in those times that we're shaped and molded. And pain has a purpose. It's there to help us grow. So instead of going through life just trying every single day to get away from pain. And by the way, if you don't have good essential life skills, you're probably doing that in a way that's maybe more damaging than helping yourself. But really with that, just with the awareness of the fact that pain has a purpose, it's there to get you out of your comfort zone into your growth zone, helps you have more courage to face it and get curious about what the lessons are and how that's going to help you grow. Gratitude every day, all day long, just ticking them off to stay up. There's so much to be grateful for in this world. It's absolutely incredible. Anytime you ever say you have to do something, switch that to get to, because there's somebody that doesn't get to. Forgiveness is a really huge part of my personal healing. In fact, the only way that I am here right now saying what I'm saying, having the attitude of gratitude that I have with a big smile on my face that's totally authentic and genuine, is from forgiveness. And then, that compassion piece underlies all of it, which is having the courage to step outside of myself and help other people.
Yeah. I mean, just think how debilitating it is to hate, and how that just takes away from who you are as a person and the possibilities of creative innovation within yourself. What
To
about
every cell, every thought that we have impacts every cell in your body, every thought. And thoughts become words. And once you start becoming present and listening to what people say, and I saw the anger after Sandy Hook. I saw the division. I saw how people were blaming and finger pointing, fault finding. There was so much anger. And I thought, I don't want that. That is matching the type of frequency that created the Adam Lanza to commit the crime, the heinous crime that he did. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want my son to be a part of that. I want to focus on what will make us strong and healthy, and that's love.
Yeah. So, Kathryn, what about hope? How does it fit into all of this?
Yeah, well, hope is a choice. I think just like love, it's a choice. We have to choose to get up and practice our skills to love, and it's a process, and it's not, it doesn't just happen automatically. And that's always what I thought around hope. I thought you either have hope or you don't. And what I came to realize is you really have to learn how to cultivate hope in your lives. And really, the more challenges we have in life, the more I say we need to shine hope. So we need to be practicing the shine hope skills. And what happens in life is generally the more challenges we have, the less we do to take care of our own well-being. So, I think of my body. So shine is stress skills. So I think of my body like a producing machine of chemicals, right? And I produce these stress chemicals. And so we've got to use stress skills to navigate those stress hormones and stress. The more stress hormones we have in the body, the less we are able to think clearly or collaborate or problem solve or, come up with the solutions we need to the challenges we face. So the first thing I do when I get out of bed is I meditate, I pray, I do gratitude practices. But then I also do my happiness habits. So the thing that cultivate those happy hormones in my body, I mean, we actually can produce them ourselves with things we do in practice. One of them being making our bed because we achieve a goal, accomplishing goals. We get little doses, as Scarlett and I talk about. Gratitude practices do that. Exercise does that. Nutrition can do that. There are so many things that are free for us to do to kind of take charge. So when I think about hope, I really looked at hopelessness. I came from the lens of hopelessness being both emotional despair, so you feel bad, and then that helplessness to do anything about it. So when we shine hope, we manage our despair with those stress skills and those happiness hormones, and then we use inspired actions to actually take steps. But unless we're taught goal setting strategies, how to set goals, we're up to 95% more likely to achieve something in our life if we write it down and we check in with someone regularly. But we aren't taught these things. And when you think about hope, if you hope for something in life, but something better in your future, you've got to actually be equipped with skills to get there. And what happens if you hope for something and you can't achieve it? That's what we call re-goaling. So we know we're losing a lot of kids to suicide because of failing grades or failing relationships or something that happens, and we get stuck in that persistent state of hopelessness. We teach our kids, we need to learn how to re-goal when it's appropriate and when we need to re-goal, and we teach skills around doing that. So the I is inspired actions, the N is nourishing networks, how we cultivate and create really strong, healthy relationships in our lives. It's not the number of relationships we have, it's really the quality of relationships we have. And I think with social media, we're given a different message that you just want as many friends and as many likes as possible, no matter what the content. And that's not true. We want networks and people close to us that actually help us fulfill and get us closer to what we want in life. So that's the N around what we teach. Creating strong networks also takes work. You have to learn how to set goals around it. I got in recovery 20 years ago. I had to change my life quite a bit and create new networks. And that doesn't just happen naturally. And it's easy to get stuck in that state of hopelessness around it, unless I manage my despair and helplessness around it and actually take steps to create those new, strong, healthy networks for myself. The N in the shine is eliminating challenges to hope, which are thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. So, this just came up yesterday, a negative bias. We search the environment for those negative things we see. So I got a review from a conference I keynoted. There were maybe 1,300 people there. We got reviews back, and 800, 900 of them were amazing. And there were 10 comments that bothered me. And did I focus on the 900? No, I focused on the 10. And so we've got to intentionally focus on the things and learn what our brain does to kind of trick us. So rumination, internalizing failure, these are all challenges to our hope, and we have to learn and be taught how to manage them, navigate them. And so, again, the more challenges I'm having, the more I have to shine. And yeah, that might be the time when I want to shine less, but the more I actually have to do it to create the life and make steps towards the life I want. I think getting up every day, getting feedback from people that are impacted by the work, even, one person, that is what keeps me going.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that 48% of people in the United States, and obviously there's a global number attached to that as well, were knocked off their feet with the result of the election. And so they're living in a kind of political
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD. Yes. And so I'm wondering, what advice can someone who's choosing love and someone who's shining hope can give to individuals?
So I can go first on that one. Dig deep, dig deep to choose hope and choose love right now. There's also post-traumatic growth syndrome. So we can grow from this. We can learn, we can dive into our pain around it, and we can learn, what do we care most about? What are the issues that we care most about? We stay in persistent states of hopelessness when we focus on our despair and we focus on our helplessness. So if you stay in a state of sadness and despair around the results, you're going to develop clinical anxiety and depression. It's just how it works. So learn how to manage your despair in healthy ways. Don't turn to drinking. Don't turn to reckless things to kind of get your stress hormones regulated and get your happiness hormones. Do healthy things that help you kind of navigate, recover. Talk about your sadness, connect with people on your grief, but don't stay in that grief. Use that to learn what you care about, and then how to use that caring to actually, cultivate your power, get out of helplessness and into action. Focus on the things you can control, the steps you can take, and make progress in that. But if we develop clinical anxiety and depression from this, we're not going to get out of bed, we're not going to do anything, we're not going to connect with people, we're not going to solve the problems or create the change in the world that we want. So it really doesn't do anyone any good. That's what I'd say. And absolutely, half the country, and take time to honor the feelings. Hope isn't about just being amazing. It's using our despair to identify what we care about and to learn how to manage it in healthier ways. do more stress skills, do more happiness habits, you know, connect with others on that.
Yeah. Scarlett, I don't know if you were going to, I saw you leaning in, so I wasn't sure if you were going to comment as well.
Yeah, so I was also going to say, I think truth is so important. And, you know, I have advocated for the truth. And I think questioning is really important, and getting curious about what the truth is. You may have to go to multiple sites to find out what it is. If you have a thought that is particularly troubling you, question the thought, because the thoughts aren't always accurate that we have in our heads. Remember, Kathryn, you talked about the negative bias. And, you know, we even have thoughts that then lead to kind of the fact that we're not worthy and that we're not enough. And, you know, of course, those thoughts are lies, because, and it's simply your brain's way of trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you in that comfort zone. But that is not where we learn and grow. So first of all, being aware of your thoughts and what your brain is saying, and not taking them at face value, but getting curious about them and actually pushing back a little bit and questioning, hey, is this thought that I'm thinking true? And of course, your first thing that you're going to say is, yeah, of course it is, because I'm thinking it. Well, then ask a second question. How do you know it's true? Are you 100%, like, would you bet your life on the fact that this thought is true? Well, then you think, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm not 100%. And then just take that, you know, a few steps further. Well, what would it look like if the thought wasn't true? And what would you feel like if you could have a different thought? You know, it's so amazing that everything starts with a thought in our head, and a thought can be changed. So I would also practice, as Kathryn said, so good, like, what are the things that we have control over? They are our thoughts. And how do you switch those thoughts from negative to positive? You use gratitude. There are things that you can't change. And you know, there are things that are being said that aren't true too, because fear sells. And you got to be aware of that. Fear sells, and your brain is buying. My brain is buying too. And I try to maintain this truth meter within me, that, I question everything, and I don't take things at face value. And by the way, I'm working from a solid foundation of gratitude. And gratitude is what fortifies us from the inside out to better be able to handle any adversity that comes our way with greater strength and grace. So really focus on gratitude practices in the morning. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for. I just tick them off all day long, but start off the day. I mean, there's research that shows your day is going to go better. End your day that way too. And you notice, like, Kathryn and I are both saying, it takes effort. It takes, being responsible for how you're feeling. No, it's not Trump's fault. It's not your grandmother's fault. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, take responsibility. Happiness comes from inside. Start doing the work that it takes, that you need to put your best foot forward. Are you putting your best foot forward? Can you honestly say that your posts and everything else are being a role model? Or are you just saying, oh, well, this is, because this person's in office, then I get to act this way? No, we have to be the best version of ourselves, and we have to model that for others. So we have a tremendous responsibility in that. But when we do that, or I should say, it makes us the best version of ourselves. I always say we're living our dash right now. We have our birth date. We have the dash that's on our tombstone that's in between our birth date and our death date. And right now we're right here. Are you the highest and best version of yourself? And if you're not, then look to Shine Hope, look to Choose Love, look to Charter for Compassion, join one of our organizations, join all of them, and learn these skills and tools. They're not hard. They're pretty simple. I mean, if you've been listening, everything that Kathryn and Marilyn and I are saying, is pretty simple stuff. I mean, you look, here's my formula right there. But simple isn't
not
always,
easy.
simple isn't always easy. You got to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, and that leads into the forgiveness work, which, you know, a lot of people don't understand. They think that, you know, forgiveness is a gift that you give somebody else who hurt you that doesn't deserve it. When in actuality, all the decades of research show that forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself, and you move forward with less or even no pain, with your personal power intact. You're not giving the person or situation that hurt you any power over your thoughts that are impacting how you feel, that then are impacting and determining how you behave and how you show up in relationships. If you're harboring resentment, frustration, any sort of long-term anger, you're not the best version of yourself. You're giving your personal power away to Trump or to whoever else that is bothering you. And you can use forgiveness to cut that cord that attaches you to pain and to move forward. Really, really important stuff, and not necessarily hard, but it does take work.
You know, I'm going back to those words behind you, Scarlett, and you know the word courage. There in Adlerian psychology, there's a mantra that's often intoned, and that is, you have to have the courage to be imperfect. You have to get outside of yourself and take that first step. And it's fine. You know, it's amazing what can happen when there's someone in the group who has that courage to just say, what about, you know, or I think this. And so that was one thing. But the other thing is with gratitude. I'm struck by, you know, how gratitude is so closely aligned with a sense of awe, you know, being in awe of something. It doesn't have to be nature, but it sure is prevalent no matter where you live, including in a big city. But it's just so totally amazing. And um, I I recently, within the last month or so, went to Winnipeg, Canada. I had never been there before, and I heard about the Museum of Human Rights, and I had a meeting there. I have not been struck by a building like that. I don't know from when. And maybe it's because, you know, here's a flat, expansive area of the world, and all of a sudden it's like this incredible monolith that's there. It's beautiful. And I kept, when I was walking through it, I mean, the sense of awe kept hitting me at every turn. And it's like seeing, you know, this beautiful, gigantic tree that, you know, it stands alone and it is a steward for the rest of the trees in the area. But you know, when you think about how important it is to have that sense of awe, an awe of the person who lives next door, or I have a friend who always, she's so amazing because she'll say at the end of something, she'll say, what do you need?
Mm.
And I mean, that's kind of an amazing thing. And she delivers on, you know, a conversation of what you need and helps work that through.
You
And
know, that I just want to say that reminds me about a conversation that Kathryn and I had maybe 3 weeks ago, because we check in with each other. Kathryn asked me at the end of our conversation, kind of a follow-up, check-up conversation, what can I do for you?
yeah,
And I burst into tears because that was just such an amazing question that it makes me tear up now that, you know, nobody asks one another, what can I do for you right now? Wow.
yeah,
That was beautiful.
yeah. And more than likely, what Kathryn could do for you was simply be present.
That was it. Just
Yeah,
asking that question just filled me with love
yeah.
and hope.
I, yeah, I'm reminded of you know, I think it's part of, you know, just what salutation, but going to a church in Chicago in the Pilsen neighborhood, which for people who know Chicago knows that that's the Spanish speaking area. and there was a, I don't even remember, if it was a mass or what, but then people would say, people who weren't there, their names, and people would say present, presente.
Oh.
And it was just so powerful. And when you think about that in your own life, like, Kathryn, intoning the name of your father, that he's present. I mean, think about,
Mm,
how he is present in all the work that you're doing. Or Jesse, how he
mm,
is present in all of the work, Scarlett, that you're doing. And so that recognition,
mm.
the journey that others have taken to help you get to the place where you are is just so, so important.
I think that's so beautiful. And in my work, I speak with we have a prison program as well with people that have done heinous things, including school shootings. And I ask them the questions that I don't think other people are asking, how if it's a child, how did society fail you? How did we fail you? What could we have done to keep you from doing that? And it's so interesting because they all say the same thing. They don't feel seen. And I want to share a little situation that, I did this experiment at one of the schools. I was giving a school, it was an elementary school-wide presentation. And I just thought, I'm going to try this. I pulled a little girl up on stage. I had a mic and I said, all right, I'm going to pretend like, I'm a friend and I'm getting off the bus and I'm going to walk by you and I'm just going to say hi like we normally do. So I walk onto the stage and I go, hey, how you doing? And walk on. And that's how we say hello, hey, how you doing? And I turned around and I said, how did that make you feel? And she said, fine. And I said, well, think about it. Think about it for a little bit and then tell me. And so she rested, she put her little hand on her hip and she thought about it. And she said, well, I didn't think that you really wanted to see me. And I didn't think that you cared. And actually, it made me feel sad. Wow. I did not expect that at
Mhm.
all. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, well, that's certainly not what I wanted. What my intention was. Can I have a do-over?" She said, "Yes." So the next time I came up and I said, I literally moved over to be right in front of her, and I bent down and I put my hand on her shoulder and I looked into her eyes and I asked a few open-ended questions. And I said, "How did that make you feel?" And she said, "Loved." And so, like really seeing people, I love the concept of the fact that even, those that aren't here are present and loving and supporting us, but even those that are, if we're so used to having our face, or maybe I'll speak for myself, this, and I think we've become dismissive. We have a hard time making eye contact because we were locked in our homes for so long, and our self-esteem is damaged because of that. And I just think that it's really important that we take a moment and we recognize that light of humanity that's within all of us, that we're all here for a reason and a purpose. And every person on the planet has a 1 in how many trillion chance of being here. We're all unique individuals with our own stories, and only we can share what we've learned from the good and bad times. And it's just so important that we just take a moment, especially with our kids, because our kids aren't feeling seen, and that's the root cause of some of the issues. Just take a moment and be present. And that's, we were designed, this is what my mom always says, look people in the eye. We were designed to make eye contact, and not everybody can, but if you can, look at the soul of somebody through their eyes, and you can learn so much about them. And that's when you really feel seen. A lot of people, I was just talking to an empowerment coach earlier, and she said that so many people feel like they're not, she did a survey, that they aren't seen and therefore they feel like they can't live their authentic self. They feel like they have to be someone else for someone else. They have to do and do and do, and it's never enough. And they just have to grin and bear it. And, you know, the thing is, I think we need to settle into this beautiful thing called life, be grateful for it and be grateful for each other, and just live each day like maybe it's your last. And it doesn't mean that you would throw everything away and you wouldn't go to work. You still, you know, everything that we do every day, by the way, is for love. Everything. We go to work for love. We show up for our families for love. We say hello to each other for love. Everything's for love. And just remember that, and just be more intentional in everything that you do.
I'm going back to those words behind the two of you. The other word that's not there, and I think speaks to everything that you've been talking about, and that's being curious. You know, the curious side of things, but associated with that is the fine art of asking questions and not making statements. So when Kathryn said, "How can I help?" You know, that's the question. That's the important question. Being curious about, you know, how I can enter that. And I think that curiosity and deep questions really show love, and they show hope. You know, like we might not agree with a person with whom we work, but asking a question about, I'm confused about how you think that way, or I think differently. Do you want to know how I feel? And that, by the way, and I'm showing my training in Adlerian psychology, that when you work with kids, you can ask them, you know, I'm curious about why you did that. And, you know, more than likely they'll say, I don't know. But they'll give you a hint that they do know why they did it. They'll smile, or they'll have a little smirk on their face and say, gosh, I'm confused. You just smiled when I said that. And it, you know, it's that curiosity and that questioning that really helps open up all new avenues. And I think those avenues are avenues of love and of awe, and to a certain extent, responsibility. I think you're both talking about responsibility as well,
Yeah.
our personal
It's-
responsibility to others.
And it's also so important when we ask the questions to work on our stress response. Because if we're asking a question that's triggering for us, our stress hormones start cycling through our body. And when that happens, we can't access our upstairs brain. And we teach kids that it's so important. And then we can't hear the answer because we have all of these ideas and we have these stress hormones. So breathe your way, give time and space for answering. Reflective listening is so helpful. And also breathing your way through it and making sure you're managing your stress response. Because if it is triggering for you and you respond quickly, you can further activate your stress response. And then you can't have a conversation. And we see this happen in politics so much. I just see they're working from their downstairs brains so much of the time. You know, it's so combative. But the other
That's
thing
a beautiful way of saying fear.
yes, yeah, absolutely. You're
From
in
their
your fear
center.
response. Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we know this. I mean, your stress hormones keep you from accessing your thinking place, you know, where your cognition lies. So it's important to learn how to regulate that. It takes 90 seconds for those stress hormones to cycle through our body. So give a pause before you respond, and also give time for them to answer. If they're afraid of your reaction to their answer, they're not going to answer truthfully either. So really intentionally practice being open. I also just wanted to mention, when we do work with the kids and we have them go through writing out a nourishing network, who is a trusted adult in their life, teachers are reporting 50% of the children don't have one single person in their life that they can trust and go to in time of need. So when we think about solving what's happening in the world, we have got to step it up for our kids and be a place of respite, you know, especially for kids that are potentially causing any kind of trouble at school that generally comes from a place of pain and sadness and fear and what their stress response. And so we've really got to figure this out, because if we want to end school shootings, and if we want to end suicide, we have got to give our kids safe spaces and be safe for them. And they've got to feel safe and, like you said, seen and heard and valued.
Mhm.
You know, I'm looking at the clock, and we have just about 10 minutes left. And I'm wondering, what are the next steps for both of you with your organizations? What's on the horizon?
What isn't on the horizon? Take over with hope and love and compassion. No, I'll say, for me, we're working hard. So we haven't announced it yet, but Chicago is going to become a hopeful city. So they're going to join the Hopeful Cities movement.
Wow.
I
That is
know it's
awesome. Woo,
massive.
woo.
For I know, woo, working with
Yeah, so
really
incredible.
wonderful.
Wow, Chicago, a hopeful
I
city?
know.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna,
If
you know,
Chicago can do it, anyone
it's
can do it.
Oh, now, come
right.
on.
It's a process, it's a process. So it's starting to get these programs out, getting the just idea and concept and out that hope is a skill. We can measure your hope. You've actually got to learn how to be hopeful, build your hope muscle, grow your hope muscle. And so we're working to launch Chicago, but I'm really passionate. We have programs for youth. We have a teen program, a college course. We have a program for the VA that we just finished. So we're working to get that. We've been working on it in Arkansas to expand that. We're doing that with clergy, which is really exciting. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of work in Chicago. Just come back from Vegas, where I did some great work with schools there, and just expanding the work, ensuring really all know, the what, why, and how of hope. What is hopelessness? It's normal. We experience moments of hopelessness all the time. It's nothing to be afraid of, but how do we manage that that hopelessness in healthier ways? How do we get out of despair into action, or from out of despair into positive feelings, and from helplessness to inspired actions? And it's a skill. So that's really where we're working. So we want to activate more cities, get more cities on board, and just really expand the work.
So,
And an International Day of Hope. We're working hard on that. Some
okay.
folks at the United Nations.
I'm wondering, maybe this hope journey that you're on, maybe we can find a place with a Charter for Compassion, with
Yeah,
offering something.
amazing. Yes, that'd be wonderful.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Yes, great.
A lot's happening right now. It's wonderful to hear about measuring hope. The Muhammad Ali Foundation is on a journey to find out how to measure compassion in
Awesome.
cities.
Yeah.
And the Nobel Prize winner, Kailash Satyarthi, is on a journey to try and find out how to measure compassion within an individual. So, I mean, there's incredible things
Awesome.
happening. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's incredible.
So, Scarlett, what's next?
Well, so it's amazing, first of all, how hope and love are skills that can be learned. I love Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, hate has to be taught.
Mhm.
Babies aren't born hating, they have to be taught. And so if hate can be taught, so can love and hope. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, because that comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So these are skills and tools. So I'm continuing to work in the school system. We've got some schools that are actually offering grades for the Choose Love programming, because these are the essential life skills that lead to flourishing. And they're the same skills and tools, by the way, that we use as adults in the workplace, in our families, that we pass down generationally, the same skills and tools that help us move through that pain and grow from it. So I'm hoping that every school will have a essential life skills program, because there's research that show when they do, the kids get better grades and test scores, higher attendance, higher graduation rates, less stress and anxiety, less behavioral issues. So it's a great way to reduce and prevent bullying. And then those benefits last for decades throughout the life. So really wanting to get a solid foundation in schools. And we have so many different programs. It's amazing how hope and love, of course, they're universal languaging, so they can go in any situation. So for after school, for at-risk youth, for prison. So we have now a prison program that's been running in New Hampshire in all their prisons for the last few years with tremendous results. And we are working to spread that into other states. We have a program that specifically at Spalding Academy in New Hampshire for at-risk youth that is just going incredibly well. So Spalding wants to help us expand that for neurodiverse individuals and individuals with special needs. So the sky is the limit really for love, hope, and compassion. I think that everybody would agree that we need more of all of this, especially in today's world. And the incredible thing is that it's just a choice and then a little bit of legwork, and you can have it too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you both. You know, we started this whole idea of love, hope, and compassion because one of our favorite global read presenters, Jacqueline Winspear, who is famous for her series of books on a woman by the name of Maisie Dobbs. And the Maisie Dobbs series is about 20 books. And Maisie Dobbs always struggles with dilemmas, but thinks through, has courage, is really grateful for her life, and shines hope. And so when things were looking really bad with Gaza, with the Ukraine, with the 50 elections this year around the world, Jacqueline contacted us and we started to have a series of conversations with just her about what we could do to ignite hope and love and compassion in the world. And so she's responsible for this, and she and Gar Jameson are going to do the final presentation of this small series that we've done, and it'll be in January. And I'm looking forward to that because one of her books that stand aside from the Maisie Dobbs series is a simple book. What would Maisie do if she had these kinds of dilemmas in front of her? So she and Gard are going to be wrestling with that. So watch for the date of that particular webinar. We're excited about it. And we're hoping to embark on a whole year of love, hope, and compassion. And I think that maybe underlining all of that is joy. So we're looking forward to that. And I thank you both for being a part of this today. And we're going to do this course, I think, with hope. Don't you think?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, love it.
Have a private conversation on that one.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Marilyn.
Yeah,
Take
thanks,
care.
Marilyn.
Great to
Thanks,
see you,
Scarlett.
Kathryn.
Yes, you too.